What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben, your host, and I'm the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, where I help restoration business owners get more sales just by getting their internet marketing right. Now, today's episode is going to be short and sweet. I'm going to try not to get super technical. I'm going to try to keep it very simple for you. But really today, we are going to talk about 4 crucial technical SEO tasks that you have to be doing for your restoration business's website if you want to compete online. That is getting that visibility on the search engines that we all so desperately need and want. Now, for a lot of you guys, SEO is a really nasty 3-letter word, but I'm telling you right now, it should be the most fundamental, crucial part of your marketing plan as far as getting that visibility, getting leads into your business, and building your brand awareness. And a lot of guys out there just think SEO because maybe they've misstepped in the past. Maybe they've been ripped off. Maybe they've had just a bad experience in general. They think it's all about just content. Some nerds are sitting on a computer and just doing a little bit of work. And it's really, there's so much more to it. Yes, content is a big part of SEO, but more so the technical details that exist within it are even more important, because we got to be able to make sure that the engine is running properly for Google to be able to index your website. So, if you're listening to this, you have no idea what SEO is. Search engine optimization is the process and practice of building high relevant keywords to your business to the top, the first page of Google, and gaining that real estate on search engines. Now, we say Google a lot and I know there's a lot of other ones out there, but Google has the lion's share of search, and that's where the most people are going to go when they have property damage. But if the good thing is, if you're following Google's best practices, guess what? That's going to have a trickle-down effect to the other search engine that people may use, like Bing or any of the other ones like that. But we're going to talk about Google because that's the biggest one out there. So if you have any experience with SEO in the past, you know that having your site set up properly with the right metadata, the right keywords on there, the right content is a big part of it. But there are over 200 ranking factors. Okay. And a big one that a lot of people miss out on, especially if you're hiring an agency to do this work for you, is the technical stuff, right? There's things that can happen within your website that'll just not allow Google to crawl your website. And when they crawl your website, it means Google's crawling your website to find out what the content, what it's all about, so they can properly file you and deliver your website as a relevant search result when somebody does a query on Google. And there's 4 big things that a lot of people miss out on, okay? And we're going to talk about them just kind of briefly. The main one is going to be something that might resonate with a lot of you guys out there, and it's the site architecture, all right? If you've listened to any of these episodes in the past, or you've watched the videos that we do every single day, you know that how much the buyer's journey affects conversions, right? So if your site's kind of a jumbled mess, it's not really clear what you do. It's not concise. It loads really slow. Whatever the case may be, it's just an unprofessional looking website. You already know these people are most likely going to bounce off your website, but there's a technical detail that goes within that that'll actually mess you up and actually hurt your search engine results. So you have to think of Google as just a user, right? So Google's job is to scan your website, to crawl your website, and then index it where it belongs. So imagine Google like a big librarian using the Dewey Decimal System. They have to know what each page is about. They have to be able to crawl the pages, and it has to be set up in a way that Google's going to be easily be able to determine what it's all about. So we start with your site architecture. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to share my screen here. For those of you guys that are just listening in, check out the YouTube video of this and you'll see the pictures, but I'm going to try my best to be descriptive and talk about this. So we're going to share the screen here. So here's an example of a simple site architecture, right? So you'd see up here, the top purple spot would be your homepage, right? Your restoration website. And then you'd have down here, have about us, maybe your locations that you offer, your core services, and so on and so forth. So you want this site architecture to be set up in a very simple way to allow Google to be able to properly index and crawl this website and then put it where it needs to go. So we'll show you on one of these websites right here, a really good site architecture to show you what the buyer's journey is like. So we want to treat Google just like the user, right? We don't want somebody to be confused on the website. We want them to go there and immediately know exactly what you do when it gets to your website. So when you're building these sites, or you are using an agency to build a site, or they're even just doing SEO, one of the first things that they should be looking at is your site architecture, how your site is set up in order to not only convert traffic, but allow Google to properly crawl it and in a simple way know what your site's about. And that goes into certain things like your permalinks. If you have really long, weird permalinks, and a permalink is up here, it's the link here. Like if you clicked on restoration services and we went over to water damage restoration page, we want the permalink to match those keywords. If I clicked on the right thing here, we want the keyword to match right here. So it has the name of the company, really simple permalink, water damage restoration, right? And within that, we're talking about dropping down the flow chart of the restoration here. We've got other areas, right? So now we have, if people are looking for cleaning or mold remediation, they're able to click here and the permalink goes right to the mold remediation page. So you can see how they can navigate the site easily. And Google's looking for that same thing. All right. They want to be able to go in and out, external links to important information, whether that's your blog or your city landing pages. So you got to make sure that that architecture is set up. And just really, if you don't have the technical expertise, just use some common sense. Okay. We don't want to send somebody down a rabbit hole on your website. What do we want them to do? We want them to find your website first, right? So you've gotten to the first page of Google. We want them to go onto your homepage. We want them to know exactly what you do. We want to know where you serve. So can you actually help them do what they want to do? And then they might want to navigate right back to the homepage. They might want to go look a little bit more and check out like a Rally, right here for Rally. They might want to go back into Rally and find out, hey, what's the number to get a hold of them? This is where I live. All right. So you need to take it into consideration. And the same thing with the blogs. So when you have a blog, a good topic, maybe, we'll take a look here what we got for blogs. When we go to our core archive blog pages, we have them being able to navigate in and out of this website, from homepage to their social media profiles to calls to action to give them a call right away. Everything is right there at your fingertips. And guess what? Google is going to treat this site the same way. So they're going to actually get a little bit more juice out of this. So even we go to one of these blog pages, what to do when you experience fire damage, talks about what you do, but they can link right back to their website. There's links that go to their Google business page. There's links that go to Wikipedia, which are great backlinks to educate you. And when Google sees architecture like this, they're saying, well, this is delivering very relevant results to what our people are actually looking for. So when you set up site architecture, without getting crazy technical with it, just think about what somebody would be doing and what they're trying to get out of your website when they go there. All right. We want to keep it simple. We want to keep it short and sweet, but more so we want to provide value. And we also have to make sure that we have page speed in mind, right? And all that comes into play with your website. So I know a lot of people out there, and I've been guilty of this in the past, a long distant time ago. It's just checking that box. I got a website. And you never really put any thought into the architecture of that website or how it's actually set up. And at the end of the day, it does come up to bite you in the ass eventually, right? Especially when we're talking about what it's going to take to compete with these guys that have unlimited budgets, have a dedicated marketing teams, or compete with guys like us. We're an agency and we have really good success with our clients. So if you want to compete with us, then you need to be starting to learn how to do these things, whether you do it yourself or you hire a company to do this stuff for you. But the most powerful tool that you can have in your pocket is knowledge, right? So knowing that what needs to happen is going to save you a lot of headache, a lot of money in the future when you're outsourcing this type of work. The other thing that we want to talk about. So we talk about optimizing your site architecture. One big thing that we notice a lot is you have to make sure that your pages are actually crawlable. A lot of this work is done, if you're using an agency, this should be the first thing they do is go through the site, find out what your pages, especially your service pages and your city landing pages that you should be doing. You want to make sure that they're crawlable. What that means is there are certain things that you can do to omit certain pages from your site from being crawled from Google. You're basically saying, Google, don't look at this page. And I can't tell you how many times we see that. And sometimes Google just doesn't crawl pages. So there's a lot of work that goes into, getting Google to crawl the pages, getting them to index it. And, you got to make sure that they have it's basically a 200 HTTP status code. All right. And you got to make sure that your robot's text file is not blocking certain pages. So it's, in a sense, a lot of this can be handled. Like if you have a WordPress website, which you should, a lot of this can be handled by your SEO plugin just to make sure that you're healthy in that regard. Okay. And there are certain services like SEMrush. We can do it for you. And there's different things that you can do to check and make sure that each page is being crawled. Google Search Console is one of the things that we use every single day here. We actually can submit your sitemap. You can make sure that your pages are being indexed and crawled, and you can really get like an overview of what's happening on your website from Google's eyes, which is the eyes that we want to look at this through, right? Not just the buyer and the buyer's journey, but we want to look at how Google is looking at the website because it's important to getting you ranked. So, take a look at Google Search Console. If you have a Gmail, you just sign up. You should have Google Analytics installed on your website. Once you have all of those connected, you can have Google Search Console, and you can really do some deep diving into the technical aspects of your website that you have to have in place in order to compete on a search engine. All right. And the other thing about that is just because your pages are crawlable, it doesn't mean they're actually getting indexed. So another reason to take a look at Google Search Console is to ensure that these pages are getting indexed. So there's nothing worse. And we've gone through some issues before in the past where we couldn't get pages to get indexed from Google. And it takes a lot of time and energy to figure it out. But knowing is half the battle, right? You know that there's an issue, and then the work starts, right? How do we get this page to crawl? You contact Google, you submit the sitemap over and over again. Make sure there's nothing on the site technically, like we talked about the robots text file or your sitemap that's omitting those pages. But you got to make sure that your website is crawlable, because that's how Google puts you on the first page or wherever the heck you belong. And you got to make sure it's indexable. So those two things, it's Google's looking at your site and then they're filing your site. And a lot of people are spending a lot of money to get all this content on their website and spending money with web developers. And lo and behold, Google's not crawling or indexing their site. So if you want to check it on your own, either have your agency show you, or, I guess that's the wrong way to put it. You really don't need to see it. You're going to see it with the results, right? If you're not seeing your keywords climbing every month and you're not seeing your traffic increase and you're not seeing an increase of business, then that's the time to make sure that, that might be an issue. But if you have a good agency, this is like 101 stuff that they should be handling right away. And if you're doing this stuff yourself, Google Search Console is the way to do it. Let's break it down to the most simple aspect ever. And it's make sure that Google can find your site, make sure they know what your site's about. And that ties into your page architecture and how your site is set up. You want to make sure that the buyer's journey, they go to the homepage, they see your phone number, they got a call to action, they can look at every one of your services, where you serve, and then actually come back to the homepage to give you a call or fill out a contact form and take whatever action that you want them to take on their site. You have to guide them, take them by the hand with your website and bring them to those points. All right. And last, but definitely not least, and maybe this is up there in the pantheon of technical things that you need to make sure you have on your site, is you have to have a good experience on the website, right? And why we save the page experience for last is because it kind of ties into everything, right? It ties into your architecture, your page speed, if it's crawlable, indexable, all that stuff. Because if somebody goes to a website, we live in a microwave society right now. So if you're looking to convert, right, so we've got the technical stuff out of the way and people are coming to the website, but now you're not getting any phone calls. Well, you might have a conversion issue, and that's when it's time to take a look at the overall website in general. And we've run a couple webinars. If you look at our YouTube for Ironclad Restoration Marketing, we have a couple great ones about website conversion, fundamentals, what you can do with your website. I'm going to share the screen again with this website because it's actually a really good converting website for us here. So a couple quick conversion tips, and this is a little bonus for the podcast. And if you're just listening in, I implore you, check us out. Check out the YouTube video. This is going to be really important. But basically what you want is you want to take a look at how somebody's going to look at your website. And this also goes into the mobile version too, which we'll show you. You want to have a nice professional looking logo. You want to have the phone number easily clickable. You got the call to action phone number here. You have 24/7 emergency service, which is your USP. What makes you different than the rest of the guys? You've got really nice banners here. They're showing the types of services that this company offers. And when we're looking above the fold, which is without having to scroll anything on your website, everything above the fold, it's like the old newspaper adage, right? The most important and the most expensive ad space is above the fold because they don't have to open the paper. Same thing here. These guys offer fire and smoke remediation, water damage restoration, mold removal, other disaster response services, and biohazard recovery services, right? Then we can scroll down and learn a little bit more about the company. But the most important stuff's right here. So if I've already, as somebody that suffered property damage, if I've already went through the motions of searching on Google to find you, I found you. Now I go to your website. Don't make it hard for them to figure out what you do or how to get in touch, right? They say, okay, we've already made our decision. We're clicking with APR. We're clicking this button right here. We're going to call them right now. If you need any more backup, you can check out the reviews here. That links back to their Google business page. And then you can dive into it a little bit further from there. One quick thing before we switch to the mobile site is watch how fast this page loads, right? We're going to clear our cache by holding down shift. We're going to reload it. Watch how quickly this site comes in here. And somebody went out from Google and they came to the site, they're not waiting for anything, right? We just completely cleared cache. Like this site's never been there before and it popped right up. So those are a couple things that you want to keep in mind. So now we're going to take a look at the mobile site. We'll give you kind of an inkling of the mobile here. Let me just go to my dev tool, switch it up here. Let's go to iTool. Okay, so this is what it would look like on an iPhone. Oops. This is what it would look like. This is what it looks like on an iPhone, okay? Same principles apply. Got the logo, got a click button you can call. It'll call the website right there. Just again, think about the buyer's journey. Now this has got our WordPress toolbar up here, so we're missing a little bit of space here with these pixels, but really you would have everything you need above the fold on this website. And you got to make sure the mobile website is also fast, okay? All that stuff is, you can look at it. You can look at your own website. You can go to Google Page Speed Insights. They actually will give you a score on your page speed and the user experience on your website. Check it out. We'll pull up another person to show you how fast these sites pop up, right? So this is all has to do with hosting. It has to do with how the site's built, has to do with the architecture, has to do with every little thing that you need to make sure that you have in place. And that's why when you oversimplify SEO or digital marketing, or you have a bad taste in your mouth, you just have to know that you have to partner with the right people to do this work, or learn it yourself. The reason I bought my book, or I bought plenty of copies of my book for people, but I wrote the book just for this reason. It's just so people have the tools they need to do this work themselves, or at least they can empower themselves with the information to understand what they need to be looking for when they're choosing a partner to do this type of work for them. All right. So to summarize this, the 4 most crucial technical SEO tasks outside of your on-page optimization, like your header tags, your metadata, you have to make sure that Google can crawl your website. Each page, every single page that you want to be ranked for, every blog, every city page, every service page, everything, make sure it's crawlable. Make sure Google is indexing the site. Make sure that your website architecture is simple and it follows the buyer's journey that you want them to go to, and they can navigate in and out of your website. Make sure your permalinks are short and sweet and are relevant to the type of content that you're putting up. And last but not least, make sure you have a great experience on your website. Make sure your site loads fast. Make sure that it looks professional. Make sure that it's set up to convert that traffic into sales, like your logo, your clickable phone number, your USP, all the important information about your company above the fold. And if you do those 4 things on top of having the right on-page optimization done, you will get more leads. You will convert more of that traffic into property damage jobs, whatever type of job you're trying to get. I don't care if you're starting a new business and you're going to start doing kitchen remodeling. It's the same exact process. Keywords are different. The content is different. But from a technical aspect, all that stuff is the same and it's infallible. You have to do it. All right. So take a look at your website. Go ahead and get on Google Search Console. It's free. Sign up for one of the tools, SEMrush. There's a ton of great SEO tools that are able to scan your site. Be careful of the free ones that they're going to make you give them your email and all this information and maybe like a credit card to give you some report. A lot of times they're looking at some source codes and there's stuff that you can't even help, and you're going to go into the weeds of things that don't matter. Just make sure that your site is indexed. Make sure it's crawlable. Use Google Search Console to inspect your whole entire site to see how healthy you are when it comes to SEO. Because again, it's not just about content. It's not just about some nerd behind a computer doing this little work that you don't even have any idea what they're doing and they're just stringing you along. This is stuff that you can teach yourself to at least know it enough to be dangerous and save yourself some time and energy in the future. So that's it for today. Take a look at your technical aspects of your website, the 4 big ones. Let us know if you have any issues, if you need any help at all. Leave us a comment on this on YouTube or on any of the streaming services that you may be listening to this on. We will address this in another episode. We got an AMA episode coming up very soon. As soon as we have enough questions, I want to fill up a whole hour of your questions for your restoration business. So if you have one, you can shoot me an email. You can drop me a comment here, leave us a review, send us a DM on Instagram or Facebook with your question. We will make sure that we address that right away. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. This has been the Restoration Rundown about 4 crucial technical SEO tasks that you have to make sure are happening on your website to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck for SEO. We'll talk to you soon.